So this is the Hilux 2015 vehicle template. I've started by selecting the bonnet. I'm going to redesign a cool bonnet. So basically I'll just disconnect it from everything else and hide it or make it see-through so I can start drawing out the lines for where the new bonnet's going to go. So I'm just using a line tool here and a Bezier corners to create the curves. However, this can be done lots of different ways, and you might just want to create single points with no curves because you're better off working in very simple geometry. It gives you more control later on to make big changes without having to move a lot of points. You can always smooth things and add more points later, but at this point it's just important to keep it as simple as possible. So I've created a line here. Obviously there's a lot of points on a curve, so I'm going to simplify my line back to only a few points. I'm going to do that shortly, but first I'll show you how it looks with the curve. You can see we can't have that kind of geometry on the car because it needs to be a single face. You can see this is only a single face, so don't extrude anything, just create edit poly, and that'll turn a line into a single face. And so here I'm turning down the interpolation, and that's to just make it only a few points, or to have no curves basically at all is the best way to start off a very simple piece of geometry. So once I've got this in place, I'm going to start moving it on the Z-axis, which is up and down, to kind of match the points where it meets the panel that's existing. Now there's lots of ways you can do this. You can start with NURBS and create a bunch of curves and extrude loft curves, and you can do all sorts of different things, and this is just a very basic way to get started. If you want to do something a bit easier, it's just a basic low poly modeling. If you want to look up more information on how to do low poly modeling, there's thousands of tutorials online. The tools you'll find in those toolbars on the right give you the ability to modify it however you feel. You might split it, you might want to put a chamfer on an edge, you might want to divide it or disconnect it or connect points or whatever. All the tools are there, and you just got to slowly learn your way around them. There's no quick way of doing this. But there are quite simple parts, so you can quite easily generate parts in a matter of minutes, not hours, and it look half decent. As you can see, these tutorial videos only go for about 20 minutes in total. So you have 4 weeks, so I'm sure by then you should be able to craft something quite spectacular. And the better it is, the more cred you're going to get. So I'm just still positioning things here and getting things nicer. You can see there's not enough points in between to be able to make it match, so I've selected the edge and I've inserted an extra vertex to be able to move that point. Now it's a single face still with just a bunch of points around the outside, so I need to start dividing it up to determine where that mesh or where those polygons land in between those points, because right now they won't know exactly what shape they are. As you can see, because there's not enough points in between, there's only one square. So this is a quick way of adding more detail into a very simple piece of geometry. I'm using the quick slice tool. So I just select a polygon under face mode and hit quick slice, and I'm able to slice up the mesh and add extra points in the middle to be able to control the shape of it better. It might look fine, but when it goes to render, there might be something incredibly wrong with it because there's not enough information in the model. Now I'm just showing you here what it looks like when you try and do things symmetrically by eye. You'll never get it right. So the best way to handle this is to slice your mesh right down the middle and select half, the top half, I need to make sure that selection mode's on inside selection. And then from there you can mirror the part. All the templates should be symmetrical, so it makes it very easy to then match the corresponding side. And at this point here I'm starting to add some grills into my bonnet. They're quite extreme grills, but they'll actually fall into the bonnet with some mesh eventually. But I'm just starting off with that. I'm going to export that part and continue working on it. And not a good idea to use shell. I'm just showing you that it is an actual piece of geometry there. But we'll finish up with that and move on to the next video.